The cry across the stars. The sprawling space station Ardent Haven hung like a jewel in the void, a neutral outpost perched between the contested territories of the Xenthari Empire and the human coalition. Within its gleaming corridors, diplomats, scientists, and mercenaries crossed paths, a fragile peace held by protocol and wary silence. Dr. Theo Ramirez had been stationed here for nearly 2 years. A former combat medic hardened by wars on Earth, he now worked as a xenospecialist, patching up alien injuries and deciphering unfamiliar biology. He was used to tension, both political and personal, but nothing prepared him for the day. A small, trembling voice shattered his routine. It came crashing through the door to the medical wing's reception area, breathless and desperate. Please help my mom." Theo looked up from his datapad, eyes narrowing. The speaker was a Xenthari child, a young girl with shimmering silver skin, sharp angular features, and eyes wide with raw fear. Her voice cracked under the weight of her plea. The clinic was a place of order. Xenthari rarely showed emotion in public, their culture demanding control and composure. Yet here stood Luma, the daughter of one of the station's most important diplomats, begging like a frightened child. Theo's gaze flicked to the guards who entered behind her, expressionless and alert. "She's not authorized here," one said in clipped Xenthari, voice cold and low. Luma ignored them. Please fix my mom. She's sick, very sick. The doctors, they don't know what to do. I heard humans can help. You're all they sent." Theo hesitated. Humans and Xenthari had long been suspicious of each other. The Xenthari prized advanced technology, but their medical practice was rigid, unyielding. Humans, by contrast, were viewed as unpredictable, reckless even. The Council often warned against relying on human methods, calling them primitive and barbaric. But something about the child's desperation cut through that. "Where is she?" Theo asked quietly, standing and stepping around the counter. "In the diplomatic quarter. She's in a coma. The Council won't let anyone near her except their best specialists. They say no one can fix her." Theo nodded, already moving toward the elevator. "Show me." The journey was tense. The station's metallic corridors hummed with activity, but everyone seemed to avert their eyes as they passed. Luma's tiny hand gripped his sleeve tightly. "I don't know what happened," she whispered. "One day she was fine. Then she started forgetting everything. Words, memories, even how to breathe." Theo swallowed. Neurodegenerative conditions were among the hardest to treat, especially on alien physiology. But he had never met a case he didn't want to fight. The elevator doors opened into the diplomatic wing, an area of high security and sterile calm. Theo's escort, a stern-faced Xenthari guard, ushered them to a private chamber guarded by 2 more. Inside lay Xenthari, the diplomat's mother. Her silver hair, like Luma's, was spread on the pristine bed linens, but her body was still and pale, her chest rising and falling only shallowly. Theo approached carefully, scanning her vitals displayed on the monitor. The neural scans were faint, fragmented, a sign of advanced neural decay. "The Xenthari Council says it's incurable," Luma said softly. "But she was brilliant once. She studied humans. She believed there was hope in your reckless ways." Theo met the girl's gaze. "What do you mean?" Luma swallowed. "My mother, she wanted to learn from humans. Our technology can't fix what's broken inside her brain. But maybe your humans can." Theo's jaw tightened. His thoughts drifted to a battlefield far from here, where a girl had died because no one acted fast enough. That failure haunted him. "All right," he said. "I'll do everything I can." The word surprised even himself. "Wait," the lead guard said sharply. "This procedure, whatever it is, must be approved by the Council. You understand that?" Theo nodded. "I do. But if it means saving a life, I'm willing to take that risk." Luma smiled faintly, hope flickering in her eyes. As Theo set to work preparing for the initial examination, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary case. The child's plea, so raw, so human, had ignited something inside him, a chance to heal not just a patient, but perhaps bridge 2 very different worlds. Outside the chamber, the station's hum went on. But inside, a fragile spark of hope had just been lit. The patient they gave up on. The sterile white light of the medical chamber cast cold reflections off the smooth surfaces as Dr. Theo Ramirez began his assessment. Xenthari's breathing was shallow, her body limp beneath the blanket. The neural scans on the monitor told a grim story. Her brain's synaptic activity was fading, like a dying star flickering into darkness. Theo's fingers hovered over the controls of his portable diagnostic tablet. The Xenthari's medical technology was exquisite at monitoring vital signs and preventing injury. But when it came to repair, real repair, it was cautious to the point of paralysis. Their protocols forbade invasive treatments, fearing damage to the delicate alien neural networks. But what did it mean if the disease progressed unchecked? Death was the only certainty. Luma watched him from the corner, eyes wide with a fragile hope. "Can you fix her?" she whispered. Theo closed his eyes briefly. "I won't lie, it's complicated. Your mother's neural pathways are degrading faster than I've ever seen. But humans have treatments that might help. It's not perfect and it's risky, but we have to try." The Xenthari guard outside the door shifted uneasily, their presence a constant reminder that every move Theo made was being scrutinized. Luma stepped closer. She believed in humans. Said we were reckless, but that recklessness gave us hope. Theo nodded slowly. Your mother was wise to believe in hope. He activated a hollow projection of human neural nanite technology, the tiny microscopic machines designed to enter the bloodstream and repair damaged neurons. It was cutting-edge human tech, experimental even by Earth standards, but it had saved countless lives. The Xenthari Council had refused to authorize its use. They distrusted any interference they didn't fully understand. Too dangerous, they said. Unpredictable. Theo sighed. But doing nothing is certain death. Hours later, the Xenthari medical officers arrived to observe as Theo prepared a hybrid procedure. The human nanites would be combined with Xenthari neural stimulators, hoping to stabilize Xenthari's synapses while repairing damaged tissue. The council representative, a tall, austere female named Xenthari, fixed him with a cold stare. "Dr. Ramirez, you understand that failure could mean serious consequences, not just for the patient, but for you?" Theo met her gaze evenly. "I do, but my goal is to save her life." Luma gripped his arm, her voice trembling. "Please don't give up." As the procedure began, Theo injected the nanites into Xenthari's bloodstream. He manipulated the stimulator controls, sending pulses designed to awaken dormant neurons. The room hummed with quiet tension, punctuated only by the beep of monitors. Suddenly, Xenthari's vitals dropped. A collective gasp filled the chamber. "Her body is rejecting the nanites," Xenthari said sharply. "Stop this madness." Theo's heart raced. "No, we need to stabilize the interface. If we stop now, the damage could be irreversible." He adjusted the stimulator frequency, carefully balancing the alien neural feedback with the human tech. Minutes stretched like hours. Then, a flicker on the monitor. A faint neural pulse. "She's responding," Theo whispered. Luma let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Mom!" Xenthari's eyelids fluttered, a small but unmistakable sign of life. Theo allowed himself a brief smile before turning back to the controls. This was just the beginning. That night, as the medical team retreated and the station quieted, Theo sat alone beside Xenthari's bed. The girl's breathing was steadier, but the road ahead was long. He thought back to his time on the battlefield, the screams, the helplessness, the faces of children he couldn't save. This was his second chance, not just to heal a patient, but to prove that humans were more than their reputation. Luma approached, her voice soft. "My mother once told me that the greatest strength is to care, not to hide behind logic or fear." Theo nodded. "And sometimes that strength means taking risks." She smiled faintly. "You're the only one who saw that." For the first time, Theo felt something beyond duty, connection. A fragile thread weaving across species. But the council's opposition was far from over. Rumors spread quickly through the station. Some hailed the human's audacity. Others whispered that Theo was tampering with forces best left alone. Late into the night, a message arrived, a stern warning from the Xenthari Council. Continue the procedure without explicit approval, and he would face exile, or worse. Theo stared at the message, then at Xenthari's still figure. I have to try, he murmured, because sometimes hope was more than science. It was defiance. It was love and humanity, against protocol, against time. The sterile air of the medical chamber was thick with tension. Dr. Theo Ramirez stood over Xenthari's bed, eyes fixed on the monitors that blinked warnings in muted red. The hybrid treatment was pushing the limits of both human and Xenthari technology, and the station's watchful eyes felt like a weight on his shoulders. Outside, the low hum of the space station continued, oblivious to the battle unfolding within these walls. But inside, Theo fought not just against the disease, but against time, culture, and fear. The Council's warnings still echoed in his mind. Cease the procedure or face exile. Yet, every second Xenthari lay unhealed was a second lost forever. Luma hovered nearby, silent but steadfast. Her silver eyes held an intensity rare in her people, an emotion Theo recognized as hope. Suddenly, the monitors beeped sharply. Xenthari's heart rate dipped dangerously low. Her system is rejecting the stimulators again. One of the Xenthari medical aides reported, tension thick in his voice. Theo's mind raced. The alien neural network was far more complex than human brains, and the interaction with nanites was unpredictable. The risk of collapse was real and imminent. We need to manually intervene, Theo said firmly. Override the auto-stabilizers and switch to direct neural stimulation. We have no time to wait. Xenthari, the Council's lead representative, stared daggers at him. You would defy the Council's orders? You risk not just your career, but the fragile peace here. Theo met her gaze with equal resolve. I risk what it takes to save a life. Without waiting for approval, he initiated the manual override. Tiny probes extended from the stimulator unit, delicately connecting to Xenthari's neural nodes. The room fell silent except for the faint mechanical hum. Theo adjusted the frequency, coaxing the dormant neurons to fire. He knew the Xenthari's cultural taboo against invasive procedures ran deep, but sometimes tradition was a chain that bound progress. Luma reached out, taking Theo's hand. Don't stop, please. The seconds dragged on. Then, faint flickers appeared on the neural scan, signs of synaptic reactivation. Xenthari's fingers twitched. Her brain is responding, Theo exclaimed, relief flooding through him. But the monitors suddenly flashed another warning. An overload in the neural stimulators. Shut it down, Xenthari barked. You going to kill her? No, Theo said quietly. I have to push through. He adjusted the output, balancing the power delicately. Xenthari's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises shimmering like stars. Her gaze met Theo's, full of confusion but unmistakably alive. She's awake, Luma whispered, tears streaming down her face. The room erupted in a mix of gasps and stunned silence. Xenthari's face hardened. This is an anomaly. We will conduct a full review. Theo ignored the threats. He looked at Luma, whose joy was raw and unguarded. You did it, she said simply. You fixed her. Xenthari's recovery was fragile, but undeniable. Over the next hours, Theo worked tirelessly, monitoring her neural regeneration and adjusting the hybrid treatment. Outside the chamber, whispers spread among the station's residents. Some admired the human's boldness, others condemned it as reckless. A group of Xenthari scientists approached Theo cautiously. Your methods, they defy tradition, one said. But we cannot deny the results. Theo nodded. Sometimes, change is the only hope. Luma stayed at her mother's side, defying the cold reserve expected of her people. The bond between them deepened, a testament to the healing power of human empathy. That night, Theo received a communication from the council. They demanded a full report and threatened sanctions if he continued without approval. But Xenthari's awakening had already sparked something else, a conversation among the Xenthari about the limits of their customs and the value of hope. Theo realized that this was more than a medical breakthrough. It was the beginning of a bridge between two worlds, and he was at its center when hope awakens. The dawn light filtered softly through the window panels of the medical chamber, casting gentle reflections on the polished surfaces. Xenthari lay resting, her breathing calm, the steady rise and fall of her chest a quiet victory. Dr. Theo Ramirez sat nearby, exhausted but alert. The room was filled with an unspoken stillness, one that spoke of battles fought and won, not just against disease, but against fear and doubt. Luma stood at the bedside, her silver eyes fixed on her mother's peaceful face. The transformation was undeniable, where there had been only fading light. Now there was hope, fragile, but real. Xenthari's eyelids fluttered open again, and this time she spoke, her voice weak but clear. Luma, tears welled in the girl's eyes. Mom, you're awake. Xenthari struggled to sit up, her strength returning slowly but surely. She looked at Theo with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. Dr. Ramirez, she said softly, I don't know how to thank you. Theo shook his head. You don't have to. Just focus on getting better. The atmosphere shifted. What had begun as a desperate plea was now a profound moment of healing. The Xenthari guards and medical officers who had once viewed Theo with suspicion now watched with respect. Outside the chamber, word of Xenthari's recovery spread quickly through Ardenhaven. The station buzzed with a mix of surprise and cautious optimism. A meeting was called, an unprecedented gathering of the Xenthari Council, human diplomats, and medical experts. Theo was summoned to present his findings. Standing before the council, Theo spoke clearly, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. This recovery is not just about one patient, he said. It represents what can happen when we bridge our cultures, when we allow hope and compassion to guide science. Our methods may differ, but our goal is the same, to save lives. Threll R.A., the council's lead representative, listened intently. Though her expression remained reserved, there was a glimmer of acknowledgement. Xenthari herself appeared, supported by Luma, and addressed the assembly. I was dying, she said simply, but thanks to Dr. Ramirez and the human ways I once believed in, I've been given a second chance. This is a new path for us, one that embraces courage and change. The room was silent for a heartbeat before the council chair spoke. We must reconsider our protocols, the elder said slowly. If humans bring such hope, then perhaps our fear of change is our greatest obstacle. Luma looked at Theo, her gratitude shining through her usual stoicism. You didn't just fix my mom, she said quietly. You changed my people. Theo smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. This moment was bigger than any one individual. It was a beginning. Days later, Theo received an offer he had not expected, a position as head of cross-species medical research, charged with fostering cooperation between human and Xenthari scientists. He accepted, knowing that this was his true mission, not just to heal bodies, but to heal divides. Back in the quiet of the medical chamber, Xenthari and Luma prepared to leave. Before they went, Luma turned to Theo. Thank you, she said simply, for believing when no one else would. Theo's eyes softened. Sometimes, hope is the most human thing we have. As they departed, the station seemed lighter, as if the barriers of suspicion and fear had cracked just enough for something new to grow. And for Theo, that was a victory greater than any battlefield. Proof that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or technology, but in the courage to care.